Welcome to Keeping Up with Data. Keeping Up with Data is the podcast that keeps data enthusiasts up to speed with what is happening in the data world. We bring in the leading minds from the data industry to talk all things career, news, embarrassing stories, failures and successes. So something really important for us here at Precision Sourcing is mental health. It's something we've been focused on a lot over the last year or so, and we're lucky enough to have partnered with the Black Dog Institute. And we're going to be doing a lot of events with them this year. A lot of our events, money will be going towards them. And they're out there aiming to create a mentally healthier world for everyone. So if you wish to support the cause, please donate via the link in the bio on this podcast, and you'll be seeing a lot more information about Black Dog over the next year. Well, welcome once again to Keeping Up with Data. Myself, Joel Robinstein. Today I'm joined by
James Ross
and our good friend Elmo Pimentel. How are you, Elmo?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me today.
No worries at all, mate. Well, we're really excited to speak to you. But as always with the Keeping Up with Data podcast, I will not introduce yourself. I will get you to tell everyone a little bit about who you are in whichever way you want. You can start however you want. Tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
All right, great. So a little bit of my background. I'm Brazilian, and I moved to Australia like 6 years ago. Living the dream.
Yeah.
And a little bit of my background itself, like started like in working my career like as a Java developer like in 2010 maybe.
That feels like a long time ago now,
yeah.
right?
And I moved my way to start working a little bit with like SAP in the past, more focused on like on the EPM, like enterprise and performance management, like SAP. That warehouse, like what they have, like they call BW before.
Yeah.
A little bit of like on finance and planning, and then when I moved to Australia, it was basically the boom on cloud and everything.
Yeah.
So I kind of have like to reinvent myself, and yeah.
Here we are now, 6 years later after coming to Australia.
Yeah, like it's a beautiful journey. Has been like a beautiful journey.
Well, what we'll definitely get into today, just to hit on a few of those points. The move to Australia is always interesting to people listening. What that transition was like. I think even more importantly for someone like yourself, transitioning to a new country, but also transitioning your skills. It's like a double whammy. So we'll talk about that as well. And definitely talk about your journey from SAP into data, because a lot of people are doing that at the moment, especially with the migrations with SAP HANA and them going alongside Azure. Yeah. And there's me sounding like I know what I'm talking about. But before we get into that, James, it's been a while since you've been on the podcast.
It has.
So what have you been up to?
Been very busy in the data market. I feel like it's still been full steam ahead. Data engineers are still what everyone's talking about. Big focus on data governance as well. I think off the back of what's happened last year, a lot of the banks, a lot of energy companies. But yeah, it's mental. It's mid-June. We're 2 weeks away from the end of financial year. And I don't know where the past 6 months have gone.
Fair enough, mate. All right. Well, it is a strange market at the moment. A lot has changed. I think we should definitely hit that a little bit in this podcast as well. But back to you, Elmo. Mm-hmm. Although we spoke about all the things that we mentioned there before, the one thing I wanted to start with was, if it's okay with you, is where you're working now. So you work for a company called SONDER, right?
Yes.
Fantastic. So it's a company that's on the up and up, very topical. You know, a lot of people talk about mental health. It's something that we're very big on here at Precision Sourcing, as you probably know, with our partnership with Black Dog. I'd love to hear a bit more and maybe tell everyone what SONDER do, why it's cool, and what they're doing in the mental health world.
Okay, yeah, that was one of the reasons that I moved to SONDER. I particularly I love the topic itself, like well-being and mental health and everything. Recently, I have like a friend of mine that like reached out to me with like some suicidal thoughts, and that was shocking, and I really didn't know what to do.
Brilliant that they felt that they could, though.
Yeah. Fortunately, I was working with SONDER, and they helped me. So basically, what SONDER does, like we provide like our service for like companies, like big companies in the market, and what we offer is like it's completed in a holistic like view of like in a platform where, or the member, basically they can like reach out in any aspect of like their life. That could be like safety, that could be like a medical, that could be like mental issues. And we try to understand what are the issues. Maybe it's regarding for like relate to like I'm going through some stress, I not perform really well like in the job. So we have an app that you can jump on the app and have 24/7 like support like in an aspect. And it's really cool, like see like how this impacts like the users, and like some of the support case that we have, like they share like some of like the insights and everything. It's really like, it's rewarding to see, like
I can imagine it would be. So SONDER's basically an all-in-one platform. So say Woolworths, I think you work with Woolworths?
Yeah, we work with
Woolworths,
Woolworths,
so every Woolworths employee can jump on the app.
They have access,
Financial help, mental well-being, all that kind of stuff, yeah?
Exactly.
All in one place.
Yeah, so and like it's a 24/7 like support. So we have like doctors and nurses and psychologists available to help, and then we can go through and like not just like help them like straight away. We have like some safety features, for example, if they don't feel like safe, they can reach. We have like we can deploy someone to respond to that person, but also we can follow up with them and like check and see, like they have like, we have a proper program like to navigate the user. We have like a matrix that we call like stay well and like and get well. So we want you to like stay well. But if you need help, we are also there to support. So it's pretty cool.
That's brilliant. That must be like a really cool thing to go into work to do every day and see in action, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, that was one of the things. Like, I was working as a consultant before, and it's rewarding. Like, I really like, I'm motivated by challenges. So to get some challenges in the field, but to see your work translate into like saving like a number that like means like, oh, today, for example, they share some like of the insights that like they help like around like saved around like 300 lives like in 1 week. People that was like having suicide thoughts, right? And man, that's like
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's I know when you speak to candidates, James, I know you've recruited a bit for Sonder as well. That's one of the things people are looking for right now is meaning in their work.
Yeah. Especially like something like that, where you're giving back to the community, you're actually helping people when you're getting to see how you can help them. It's a big thing. Yeah.
So where do you fit in that sense? Obviously I can imagine there's a lot of data that comes through the platform. Is it to the point of advanced analytics where you can almost predict certain behaviors from people and that you can kind of keep an eye on them, or are you more just filtering the mass amounts of data that you got?
Yeah, that's the thing. There is like a fine line. There's like a lot going on about like ChatGPT, advanced AI, right? And the founders itself, they have like this clear picture that like we need to keep that as human as possible.
Sure.
So there's a lot going on and talk like right now, like how we can like, it's still like having this one-on-one that's like human interaction, but also, as you mentioned, like provide some advanced analytics and like things, for example, recommend articles, and that we usually do. Like we have a lot of like a big library of like articles, and so depending on like on the interaction that person has, like or the member has with, like, for example, the support center, we can provide then and like recommend some articles and everything. There is like a lot of things that we can do and use that data also to provide like a better experience for the members itself. It's a huge part of like our job right now.
Is it difficult working with health data as well though? Because I know it's, you've got to be so careful with how you interact with that. Well, they are a person at the end of the day, right? So
exactly. And nowadays with like a lot of like data integrations and everything, and also like what happened as well, I think it was kind of like a blast in its guys, like what happened with the Optus, the data breach. So everyone is panicking right now.
Right. I mean, that was just one of them. What else? There's Medibank. There was
Medibank as well, and like so many others. Yeah. So it's a really hot topic right now in the marketing regarding to like, how to keep the data and like the impact of like in the corporation, like the brand and the name as well. So it's pretty bad. So everyone's kind of like panicking right now, and like for us to deal with like medical data, that's become a little bit like even critical.
So what have you done? I mean, that's an interesting topic in its own right. As a company and as a data team, what actually have you put in place to secure things a little bit more?
So right now, like we are working with like some third parties as well, like to do like a full overview, like we have like a security squad that is constantly like working, and to guarantee that our data is like secure and safe. So we are working with like some cyber security like companies as well, that they do like frequently like some breach tests, or if like everything is compliant. And there's like a lot going on right now. We have like a specific squad just looking at that, just to guarantee that everything is in place.
Are you seeing a lot more roles like that, James? Like obviously, you've got the cybersecurity boom kind of is happening has happened. You had the data governance, data privacy boom, but are you seeing, I mean, I'm sure we've seen it overseas, but in Australia, like pure, I am a data security person, that's all I do. Are you seeing more roles like that come up?
There hasn't been a massive influx yet. Some of them are being disguised in a way of data management, and I think a big part of the hurdle, and I'd be interested in your thoughts as well on those, it comes from we know what we need to do, how do we then get everyone across the business on the same page and aware of this is what we have to follow now, because that seems to be the bigger challenge. And then a lot of these roles under this data management umbrella, and even to security and like data privacy, then really fall into change management, because it's all about the actual mindset and having to deal with people rather than putting in place a certain metric or a certain program.
Yeah, and I completely agree, because like as an example, like most of the data breach, they didn't happen because like a security issue regarding to the technology. I was like the human side of it, you know what I mean? That for some reason, I don't know, someone get like access to their credentials or something like that, you know what I mean? So there is like a lot going on right now. We are having like a huge we are doing our work right now in regard to the data governance, because if you think about like even inside of the business, they are generating data itself, not just the users, and the data itself. Like we have like the idea of like there has been talking a lot about data mesh and all that stuff, where you have like the ownership of that data. So it's not just like the data team. It's like it's the whole company that needs to comply, and like basically the data governance itself. If you have like a framework, that framework maybe can be written by like the data team, but need to be signed like for the whole company. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like everyone needs to buy in.
Yeah. And there's 200 people-ish at Sonder, right?
I think it's 300 now.
So imagine doing it at Woolworths or Macquarie Bank, or like trying to keep everyone toeing the line, right? Because I think the way I saw it, I'm not as in it as James anymore, but data governance was done by the BI team before, right? This was back in the day. Oh yeah, you're a BI team, you just did data governance. Then data governance got spun out from BI and they realized it needs to be so space, and now data security and data management. Oh, you data governance guys just do that, but then that will probably get spun out again and become a role in its own right. And it's really hard because, I mean, even when we have it here at our company, me and Andriano, we try and tell them we need to do this, we need to do that. All they're saying is, well, that's going to cost us $500,000. You're like, yeah, but it could cost us $10 million if we don't get it
wrong,
But they're like, oh, but don't worry, you'll figure it out. And they just leave you to it. And as I'm sure it's similar with the data team, they're like, oh, look, we don't really want to spend much money on this, but you guys you figure it out, right? So.
And that's when I mentioned, like, after what happened, like with the data breach and like in Woolies, in Optus and like in Medibank, I think that's basically sparked like that like sense of urgency, not just like for the data team, but like from the top to the bottom. So it's a push right now, not just like, because it was always like a push from the bottom to the top, like. Is like data team or like everyone like, I mean, from the data platform, like trying to, hey guys, we need to like provide this, follow this process, this framework. And now it's kind of like, how important,
I think we've seen like from last year, even when like things started to happen with Westpac, it's unfortunate that it's happened to these companies. That's what the industry's needed though, and for it to really get the kick up the one to be like, now you see why I've been trying to push this for past like 10 years, right?
Exactly. And like the data breach itself is pretty bad for some of the users. Some of them, they have to change their passports.
Yeah.
And they have to travel for like other states to do that because
of this.
It's like, it was so annoying. But
did you get caught up in any of them or?
Probably.
Did you not get any emails or texts or anything like that?
No. But definitely if you Google or go, you're going to find all my details over there. Yeah, I'm 100% sure. But
yeah, I think that most people can find most things about people these days anyway. Yeah. I think my driver's license was in the Optus one. Something was in the Medibank one because AHM is owned by Medibank. Anyway.
And there are like all these companies are connected as well. So in the end, we never know. And another point as well is like the damage for the brand.
Yeah.
That is like, it's so hard for you to,
Do you know what? It's really weird. I just didn't care. I really didn't. I was like, oh no, someone's got my driver's license. What are they going to do with that? Yeah. But that's just me. There's much more sensitive information about medical records and stuff out there, right? So yeah. I also think these things get blown way out of proportion by the media because they love it and they can rip apart a company, but still. Yeah. Anyway. All right. So we went off track there, which we always do, but back to you. So Two things I'm really interested in. Let's start going backwards. That's right. So you
All right.
started as a Java developer. Why did you start your career as a Java developer? What made you choose that?
Was the first internship that I could like.
I'll say you were like, I just need any job in tech.
That's it.
Yeah,
so, and
Nice.
then my first internship was like for a big bank in Brazil, and the project that I ended up like going was like Java, development of like their insurance and
Nice.
platform and.
Because you did a computer science stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So I started in finance somehow.
Nice.
Yeah, and I
Worked
ended
for a
up
Java
like
developer.
yeah.
So how long were you a Java developer for?
I did for almost like 1 year.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then transitioned into SAP?
Yeah, and then I had the opportunity to move
Yeah.
to a different like area of
Great.
the company, and SAP on that like 10 years ago or 12 years ago was like pretty hot. So all the jobs,
well,
everything
even now,
was booming.
It's crazy, the
Yeah.
SAP market, because SAP, if you spend on SAP as a big company, you're spending
Yeah.
hundreds of millions of dollars. You don't just suddenly overnight go, oh, we're not going to do
Yeah,
that
don't do this anymore,
It's
yeah.
everywhere, isn't it? So,
And the bigger companies are thinking, I don't know, like, but I feel like it's way bigger like in Europe and even
Yeah.
in
Europe, America.
America,
huge.
yeah.
So what I do know from my colleague Jay is I think there's 386 companies in Australia that use it. So they know specifically that's how many are using it. But they're all big.
they're all big,
Yeah.
just big
Yeah.
companies. Yeah, it's really complex, like the
Yeah,
implementation
super
and everything.
complex. Costs a lot of money to upgrade.
Costs a lot of money, yeah.
All that stuff.
You have to upgrade.
You have to upgrade. Yeah, they literally force you to upgrade, don't
Yeah.
they? So what part of SAP were you working within then?
So at that timing point, I was working with like the basically business warehouse units. And that was like when I moved to the data space.
Yeah.
And then after that, like business warehouse, I did like again I did finance. I did MBA in finance.
Mhm.
So I moved to one other component called business planning consolidation, the SAP BPC.
Oh, BPC, yeah. See,
Yeah.
we know the modules because our colleagues always talk about it.
Mhm.
We hear BPC.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's amazing too. Pretty
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. I love
Okay.
it to work with that. And then I was working with SAP BPC, and then I moved to Australia.
Yeah.
And that was when I had to do the transition. And also was kind of like at
Ready
the
to
same
do
point,
it.
yeah, because of like all the booming on cloud computing and everything.
Exactly
Yeah.
right. So, firstly, what made you move to Australia?
So I came here to spend like, as a lot of like other people probably relate to that, I came here to spend like 6 months.
Oh, really?
And
Just
after
the traveling first?
Yeah. And after
Nice.
6 months, I fell in love with the place, the lifestyle and everything. I was like, wow. And I decided to stay a little bit longer, and I
Nice.
started doing like my master degree.
So you went to the student visa route. Is that how you managed
Yes.
to... Yeah,
yes,
okay.
yes.
That makes sense.
So yeah, I came to just to study English and like travel. So
Mm-hmm.
the thing was like 6 months. I still had like my job back in Brazil. I was like, I
Really?
definitely was not in the plant. And then suddenly I was like, wow, I think I should give it a go.
Yeah.
And when I realized, I was like, okay, if I'm going to stay here, let's do something that like will be beneficial for my career as well, like when I
Sure.
come back. And then I decided to do my master degree. And in the middle of the master, I started like working. I was updating my career as well, focus on like whatever the market was hot at that
Sure.
moment. And then I specialized like in like started like going like deep on cloud computing and data lakes and all the modern data stack, all that stuff. And suddenly I landed like my first job, and then from that on was basically
Just kicked on. So what was it about Australia that really like kind of grabbed you?
Oh man, so many things. Like I always tell my friends, like they have no idea how blessed they are to live in this country. It's crazy, my Australian friends, because it's so cool, man. Like honestly, like the lifestyle, it's amazing. Like you guys have like this chill vibe of like really that it's not common like
Yeah.
I don't know, in other parts of the world, you know what I mean? Like, and weather is great as
That's
well.
great.
And man, one thing that's like it's priceless is like the safety.
Yeah, safety.
Aspect.
That's what a lot of people say. You know, come over from Brazil, South Africa,
Yeah.
places like that. That you
I
just can
never,
do what
like-
you want,
yeah.
wherever you want, right?
Yeah, and I never felt like threatened in the streets or
No.
anything, you know what I mean? And also the idea that like there's so much opportunity over here as well.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and I don't know, that's all that stuff it was really new for me. And I was like, wow.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I was
so
like-
I'm from England and I moved here 13 years ago now, and all these reasons that you're saying very much the same. The safety thing not too bad in the UK, obviously, but everything else just opportunity wise,
Yeah.
you know, it's all here if you want to do it, but it's also quite laid back, and I love it here as well. I would never leave. So it's good that you landed on your feet.
Yeah. And they always ask me, oh, do you see yourself going back? I was like, I never say never.
Sure.
But not now. Like, I'm happy here.
Yeah. So, I still call it home, I guess. But anyway.
No, you'll always be home. Like,
it's it's how you remember it, isn't it? All right. So you got into cloud computing. What was it that grabbed you about cloud computing? What excited you about it?
I think like working even like with SAP, and I work a little bit like with Oracle, the Hyperion as well, like pretty old stuff. Like, man, to install those things was painful. And if you have like to scale, was like, oh my gosh, pray for God to, because it was terrible. And with cloud computer, it was like so easy to basically start. Like, I remember like my first data project, like to set up the whole environment, like, I don't know, before, like if you want to like work with SAP or anyone of the enterprise, for example, even if you want like to start like your own database or anything, it would take so long. It would be so complex to get everything right. The drivers and everything is like crazy. And cloud computer just like revolutionized like the way that like you do the 2 clicks and you have a database running and you can start like exploring, you know what I mean? Like, and what I always say is like, fail fast, fail early.
Yeah, okay.
That allows you to like experiment and try and like do so many things. So that was like mind blowing for at least for me. Yeah.
And you did a couple of years as a consultant at Servian as well, right?
Yeah.
That's
I worked with Servian.
So I'm guessing you got to work on a few different things at the same time and a few different types of clients and really embed yourself. Is that right?
Yeah, Servian was awesome. Like I learned so much with those guys.
Imagine,
The company was awesome. Like the culture was awesome and was a great experience over there.
Yeah, I think you've always said, James, like if you're early in your career in data, going into consulting is a good place to start, right?
It's a great, because you get to work on multiple projects. You get to pick up numerous tools. You also didn't get thrown into we have to do this is a timeline. Like you just have to get to it.
You have to get things done.
And it can help you really find what you enjoy doing. Like I've heard from people, they might do a project that's more engineering or a project that's more than ETL or one that's actually a bit more analytics, and something like, oh, I love the analytics, love doing visualization, love telling a story, I'm going to do that. So it's a great way as well to really redefine what interests you, what sparks you in the data space.
And I think the exchange as well, because you're going to have like a lot of like senior people around you.
Yeah.
So it's really good as well.
Have you managed to, a lot of data people in Australia seem to have a mentor, someone that they kind of lean on. Did you manage to pick up a mentor along the way?
Yeah, I feel like
cool.
I have like I always say that like you can learn a lot with experience. And I have like during my journey, I have like a few people that were like had a special chapter like help me, and
it's really important, isn't it?
Oh, so much. Like and don't be afraid to ask. You know what I mean? I always say there are like so many people that are like wanting to help, but no one ever asks.
Yeah, and right, that's the thing. And it's also like, why would anyone say no? Because it's an ego stroke as well. You're like, oh wow, you want me to give you advice, right? But in the rare case that they do say no, you probably don't want them as a mentor anyway, because not the right person.
It's on my views, like it's always a win-win situation. Like you come to them, hey, I really appreciate your job and like everything, your career, everything you do. Right. I have been following you for a few times. Like, would you mind to like just ask for go for a coffee or something, you know what I mean? And see if there is a connection, because as you mentioned, I think it's important so to have that connection.
Sure, and it doesn't have to be forever.
It's
for a period in time a lot of the time. You might have a mentor for a year that you needed them for that year, and then you grow and you move on.
Exactly. And in both sense, I always, as I say, it's a win-win situation, because you're going to learn from them, and I'm 100% sure that they will learn something from you as well.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely. Books that you might have read or anything like that that's really helped you create. Doesn't have to be data related either.
Okay.
Is there anything that you kind of can shout out that other people might be interested in?
I love the Daily Stoics.
Daily Strikes?
Stoics.
Okay. What's that? Oh, Stoic.
Stoic, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Agla in our company reads that, right? She sends it to our work chat like all the time, like just the first snapshot of each chapter.
Yeah, every single day. Yeah. You have like a passage that's like comes from like, I don't know, thousands and thousands of years ago, and you can see that like, even though as human, we didn't change that much on our nature, do you know what I mean? And it's mind blowing to think that like people in 2000 years ago, even more, like going through the same problems that we had, like, you know what I mean, dealing with like other people, insecurity, all the issues that we have, and it's pretty cool and like.
So did you do it first thing every morning? Is that when you would read the page, or?
I do before bed.
Oh, before bed.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
So most people that we know would do it first in the morning. So what makes you do it before bed?
I just realized that like as soon as like I get a book on my hands, I'm falling asleep. So why not use that?
Really?
Yeah,
cool. Yeah, that's a good way of doing it.
So I just realized, okay, let's make the good of this, and then like I try to go to bed pretty early. So as soon as like I can read like a few, and that's like has been like kind of like a strategy for me to like read more, so I can go like easily through like few pages. And
good idea. Better than watching the screen all the night and
Yeah.
not sleeping, yeah? So what advice would you be able to give them? So considering we've just done your journey there, I'm going to look for two pieces of advice, if that's okay for you. So firstly, for someone wanting to transition from another area of tech into data, like you've obviously taken some steps along the way, what advice would you be able to give people who are looking to do something similar?
All right. So the transition from like SAP, I felt like a little bit like challenging for two reasons. First, as you mentioned, just like big companies implement SAP, and to get to them was challenging because I had my experience, of course, like back home. Language at that point was
for sure.
a challenge as well, and it was hard for me to basically get to those opportunities. And I say, okay, let's look at like what's hot right now in the market. I start to go into a lot of like meetups, talking to people, get their feedback, and a lot of recruiters. So you guys have like so much information, and I start seeing like this push on regarding to cloud computing and everything. So I went like straight to like learning, like doing some like of the like basically sign up for every single training that like at that point I did a lot of like Microsoft training and free like certifications and all that stuff. And one thing that was important for me as well was like to have my portfolio. And I mean, you can spin up like run like a GitHub account, create something that you can show your work, because if you don't have like experience in this case, if you're new to the market, you need to show them that like at least you are capable to do something.
I love that.
Yeah.
There's two things in there that I picked out that I know you tell people as well, James, but one, you immersed yourself in the area, so you went to meetups, you put yourself out your comfort zone. Yeah. Even though you said the language might have been a barrier for you, and you still went and got amongst it, right? Which I think a lot of people are scared to do.
Yeah, like it can be quite a confronting environment because you feel anxious or you don't know people or you're not really sure, but it's a great way you'll learn off others. Like you said before, you have mentors. Like a networking event can be basically a group of mentors because you're learning off them, and it can even be for one night. Yeah.
So there's a good start, right? Also, you said things can be free. You don't have to drop tens of thousands of dollars straight away on like a crazy course. You can do free learning as well. But the most important thing that you said there, which I've tried to tell people, we do a quarterly presentation to UTS students who are kind of coming out into the world of work, and one of the things we always tell them is just do something.
Yes.
Doesn't matter what it is. Get
doesn't
some
matter
free
if it's
data.
Good.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's good. Just get some free data from the internet. Ask your friend's dad who owns a cafe to look at their sales data and build some Power BI dashboards about anything, so that when you finally do manage to get your foot in the door to speak to someone, you're like, look, I actually did that, rather than I can do it, but I can't show you, right? Because that's the question we get the most is, how do I get a job if I haven't got any experience? Well, you've got to do whatever you can, right?
Yeah, and not just it, but I do believe that like that motivation, that like showing that you're like, oh, you built something, or like you are interested, or I think that's something that you cannot teach. So if you ask me like, okay, you want to work with someone that like has these like things, or like these proactive like spirit, you know what I mean, or someone that like know a lot but doesn't have like that thing inside of like I would definitely go, because you can learn anything, you know what I mean? Let's be honest, nowadays, like with internet, but like the good spirit of like going and like make like, I don't know, get your hand dirty, or like put your hands up and to do it self, like I think that is like, and I think a lot of people are looking at like, you know what I mean, like trying to find that like in the candidates and everything.
Yeah, you need to stand out. I knew another guy actually also from Brazil randomly, bit further in his career than you, but he was wanting to start his own consultancy, and he started his own YouTube channel, started his own blog. And he's not getting like thousands of views. He's getting 50 here, 100 here, 20 there, 200 here, right? But what he then had was this portfolio of information that people who might be interested in working with him could just easily get to and go, 2 minutes, great, he can do that. Okay, this guy, I want to talk to him.
He's the guy for the job, yeah.
You don't have to be some crazy influencer or do some crazy project to get going.
Exactly. And nowadays we have like this shift in data as well, that like we have a lot of like things moving more towards like bringing like a more soft engineer approach instead of like the data, like DBT, for example. You can do like a lot with DBT, and like publish data, like, even work like in open source open source like models and everything. There's like a lot that you can do and
so
like
many
you can
different
show.
ways of doing it, right? Okay, well that's great advice, James. I'm going to come to you with this question as well, because we need to talk about the way the world's changed in terms of the borders starting to open, new visas getting released and all that. But what advice can you give, Elmo, to people who are either wanting to move here or have moved here and are maybe struggling to get going, as to, I guess, what steps did you take to, I guess, be successful in getting those roles and moving to a new country?
Don't be afraid to fail first, because we take that toll and I was like, oh, my English is not perfect, or I'm not good enough, I'm not this. Like, just go, try. And I always say that like every single no that you get is like you're closer to the yes. And that happened to me like so many times.
I can imagine, yeah.
And like every single experience that I have, every single like interview that I got it, I always ask for feedback. Where can I improve? Yeah. Of course, not everyone will like get back to you. Yeah. But like every single response that you get, like you can build like a little bit on top of that. And maybe like, oh, you were not like right on some like of your like maybe technical terms or something like that, or like, oh, we really need that specific thing that you didn't get. It was like, okay, I'm gonna get that for the next one. And that's how it works. Basically like go outside, go out there. There is plenty of opportunity. Like Australia is an amazing country. There is so much opportunity, and you just need to go and get it. That
makes sense. And do you know what? So okay, what I'm getting from that is, first of all, humility. So you were 7 years into your career, and you didn't go, I know it all, I'm going to just...
I have to start,
Tell me what I'm doing wrong, I want it all, right? So we have a phrase here that we use, feedback makes you bitter or better. And you can choose which way you take it, right? Exactly. So it's really difficult as well. So you took the leap. You came here traveling, family or no family at the time?
No, on my own.
A little bit easier, right? So we admit that. But there's a lot of people who want to move their family over, or they're a bit further on in life and they really want to get to Australia, but they want it all at once. So what I mean by that, they'll be overseas, they're good manager level somewhere else, and they'll go, I want the job, I want the salary, I want to have the house sorted before I make the move, right? Very difficult to do it that way, because you're just one of 100,000 other people wanting to do that, right? You kind of need to take that plunge. I mean, I don't know about you, James, but it was always easier to place someone who went, you know what, even if it's, I'm going to come here for a month, I'm going to go to some meetups, I'm going to meet some people, I'll do a couple of interviews, maybe I don't get that job, but I'm, at least if you have a family, maybe that's the only way you can do it. Now if you're young and single, fine, just move here.
I think everyone has a different but one thing that definitely happened, I have to do some step back, and for me that was fine, right? That is like they say that like sometimes you need to go like a few steps back to start like going up again. And I knew that like that was part of the process, right? I was not expecting to come here and like everything like, oh, here's your job.
Yeah, it's on the plate for you.
Oh, you're home. Okay, here you go. No, but like, I was like looking at people, and like, you can always look at someone that like made it, and you say, you can feel bitter, or you can feel like, okay, if he made it, I can do it as well. You know what I mean? And like, hey, can you help me? Like, and can we? Tell me like, what did you do? How did you get that? And I just say like, usually why the person will say no?
Exactly.
Most of the time what you got, like, it's good feedback, you know what I mean? And like people that like are really willing to help and like get out, do networking. That's so important. When I landed my first job, was the same through network. I mean, to getting like going out and talk to people and like getting to the point, like, and work, like, you know what I mean? Like, do your part as well.
Yeah,
a lot
exactly.
of people like
do
get
your
that.
Part. Exactly.
A lot of people get the first opportunity, but they don't go after it. I mean, show them that you're there to like do your best.
And someone will buy into that, right? Somewhere along the way. So I know you're not a visa specialist, so I won't go too crazy on you here, James. But obviously a lot of the world are now hearing Australia's opening back up. They're doubling the amount of visas this year as they did over the last few years. You know, what advice would you give for people wanting to come from overseas at the moment?
So actually I've been having a fair few of these conversations lately. First and foremost, like do a bit of research. I think the government publicly displays like what's needed for each visa, and you can see what's going to be relevant. And I know there's a lot of migration agents you can always ping messages to and sort of have a chat with them. But look at what's realistically going to be a good visa for you, and then plan your move. Like you were talking before, like you do need to take a step back. You need to be realistic of, okay, if I'm going to move my family over, I'm just moving myself over, what can I drop to? What's going to still sustain life? What's the step I need to take so that I can then bounce up? Because a big thing, and I see it with a lot of people, is they'll come here, they take a step or two steps back. Within 12 or 18 months, they're already then back on track to what they were at, or not above that, because suddenly they're coming in, stepping at a level where they've already got that experience. Within 6 months, adding lots of value to the company's like, oh, well, we want to keep you. We want to make sure you feel valued here. How do we do that? Let's keep pushing you forward. Let's either up your salary, let's get you to the manager title, what you were on before. So you might have to make that small sacrifice for 18 months. That's fine. You'll get back to where you're at. So you just have to be prepared and just make sure you plan that. The other thing I think is just be brave. Like it is quite a scary thing. I always say to everyone, I think I said to you one point, I say to everyone in our office that moves over, like I could never move overseas, hand on heart. I didn't have the guts to do it. So the fact that you're willing to make that move, just be brave and back yourself. Like you're already doing this career, your job somewhere else. Who's to say you can't do it over here? So if you plan, get all your ducks in a row, look at what visa you can do, plan your move over and what step you can drop down to, nothing's going to stop you. You just have to keep persisting and be resilient. You might get 50 no's. You only need one yes.
Yes, exactly.
So my understanding is as well, it is a little bit easier again to apply for visas overseas, whereas the last few years it had been really difficult. Is that right?
Yeah, I think the government has made it a little bit easier. I'm not sure on all the exact fees they've got on at the moment.
But try and apply is the advice.
Exactly. And if you're not sure, if you Google it, I know there's lots of companies out there like migration agents, and they can always just flick you PDFs. They've got information on their websites.
Do you know the other thing that I suggest as well, which I haven't said before, I don't think, is try and make yourself stand out a little bit more, right? So say there's a company that you want to get into here in Australia and you're a data engineer, but you're using the kind of stock standard tool set, if you manage to get into a conversation with someone over here, be like, okay, you won't hire me from overseas as I currently am, but what if I got really good at something in the next 12 months? So I know, like, for example, Commonwealth Bank are always looking for ab initio skills. It's very rare here in Australia, so they're willing to hire people from overseas. So maybe just spin that little bit of extra skill where you then approach someone and go, hey, I'm really different. Do you want to bring me from overseas, right? So maybe that's a good opportunity.
No, it is. And it's like to network again, like you talk to what's going on, like what's hot, what is in the roadmap right now for the company. Look ahead and like get ready. I remember that like at some point it was like Python was like everywhere, like all the conversations. I remember my first interview, like they asked, oh, do you know Python? I was like, yeah, I know. No, but yes, I know. And like, I'm going to get it done. And then at some point, like when I started working over there, like we never touch Python.
Really?
Yeah, it was kind of that's like, crazy. No, that's hot. It's like everyone is using, we are going to use as well. I don't know when, but we are going to use. We need someone that like, no, this, right? I was like, okay, yeah.
Sure, why not? That's so
but that's part of like what James said about like be brave. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what? We've had a lot of instances over the years where candidates have come out of interviews going, they asked me these questions about stuff that I don't think they're ever going to use. I don't know why they asked me it. And then a manager will be like, we can't hire them because they haven't got this one really specific skill. I'm like, are you using it now? I'm like, no, we don't, but we want it.
So, exactly.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. Well, look, we're coming towards the end of time. I've really enjoyed that. That went absolutely super quick. We do ask one question at the end of the podcast that you may have heard. Cool, you look like you're ready. Okay. So we love asking, if you were in a zombie apocalypse and you could only have 3 people with you in a bunker. I don't know, family, what you've got now or anything. They're safe. So you can't have your family. Which 3 people, fictional or non-fictional, would you have in your zombie apocalypse?
Oh my god.
Are you a zombie kind of movie watcher? Is that...
Yeah, I see.
Okay,
I watch a lot of like The Walking Dead.
Yeah, Walking Dead. Okay, so you know what's up. Okay, cool. So who would you have with you?
Oh, geez, that's hard.
Talk us through your thought process.
All right. So I need someone that like it's fun because the world is ending. All right. I need someone that's like uplifting. So I don't know. I think I would love to have like Chris Tucker. Like
Chris Tucker's a good shout. Yeah, solid. He's full of energy as well, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So that's good. Good start.
David Goggins.
David Goggins. Oh, he's super motivational, right?
Yeah.
And he can run for miles.
Exactly. So he can like
Super useful.
super useful. And the third one probably could be fictional, right?
Yeah, fictional's good.
I don't know, Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman is a great shout. You see, you didn't want to say it.
just to mix a little bit things,
Well,
right?
first of all, well done, because as we've said on this podcast a lot, 98% of people say 3 men. So great job. Bit of diversity there.
Yeah.
Many reasons why you would want Wonder Woman there, I'm sure. She's super strong, super fit.
Yeah.
You know, great to have around. Let's just put it like that. All right. So on that bombshell, James, anything to add?
Just thank you for coming on and sharing your story and being so vulnerable.
Yeah, real good story. Elmo, anything to add from you, mate?
Thank you so much. Really appreciate the time you guys take, and thanks for having me here.
No worries, mate. And do you know what?
Pleasure.
The stuff that you said, I think, is really useful. Often what we do with these podcasts is we snippet a lot of little bits up to put out on social. I reckon there'll be plenty from this that are going to really help people, and that's at the end of the day what this is about.
Thank you.
So,
and
well done.
yeah, I think that's like the thing. Like, if you can help someone, just do it. It will be good for you. It will be more like, it will be better, and I think it will make you like not just like feel better, but in the end, like it's more important for you than like for the person itself that you are helping. And I hope like that can inspire someone and like help them in some way. So thank you so much.
No worries, Elmo. Cheers, mate.
Thank
See
you,
everyone.